Hello and welcome to yet another module on physical education. We have been talking about the methods of physical education. An effective instructional model or teaching approach, unlike a teaching style, is a comprehensive and coherent plan for teaching that includes a theoretical foundation, intended learning outcomes, teachers' content, knowledge, expertise, developmentally appropriate and sequenced learning activities, expectations for teacher and student behavior, unique task structures and learning activities, assessments of learning outcomes, benchmarks for assessing the implementation of the model. There are currently 8 dominant instructional models and approaches to teaching physical education. These are by no means the only approaches used to teaching physical education, but they occur most frequently in the literature. 5 have been adapted for physical education from other setting or content areas. The remaining 3 were developed exclusively for use on physical education settings. The 5 models and approaches adapted for physical education from other settings included direct instruction, cooperative learning, personalized system for instruction, that is PSI. Next is peer teaching, inquiry teaching. The 3 models and approaches developed exclusively for physical education are sports education, tactical games approach, that is teaching games for understanding, game-based approach, play, practice and game sense. Next is teaching for personal and social responsibility through physical activity. Sport education is a curriculum and instruction model designed to provide authentic, educationally rich sport experiences for the students in the context of school physical education programs. Basic feature of a sport education based curriculum and teaching approach, sport education has 6 key features that are closely derived from how sport is conducted in community and authentic sport contexts. That is, they derive from the authentic form of the activity within the larger culture. These features are seasons, affiliation, formal competition, culminating events, record keeping and festivity. Seasons refer to the units of work in the sport education, and these are often 2 to 3 times longer than the typical PE units. They may even take up an entire school term or half a semester. The assumption here is that less is more, or that fewer activities covered in greater depth result in better educational outcomes that can be realized in the more typical short unit multiple activity program format. Affiliation is about students becoming members of teams/clubs at the start of a season and retain their team affiliation throughout the season. Students plan, practice and compete as a team. This feature also derives from evidence that suggests that much of the social meaning derived from sport experiences as well as a large part of the personal growth often is attributed to positive sport experiences is intimately related to affiliation with a persisting group. Formal competitions are included as typical sporting seasons are defined by a schedule of formal competition interspersed with practice sessions. The affiliation and formal competition features combine to provide the opportunity for planning the goal setting that create the context for pursuing important outcomes that have real meaning for the students. Of particular concern for primary, elementary teacher and physical education specialists alike is that there needs to be a heavy focus on the practice sessions in order for skill acquisition to occur. Teachers need to become architects of the educational environment and ensure that the students have sufficient support via direct instruction and guided practice to allow students to acquire FMS. A culminating event is included because it is in the nature of sport to find out who is the best for a particular season and for others to mark their progress in relationship to that outcome. Culminating events create the opportunity for festival and celebration of accomplishments, which are a significant characteristics of play and sport. Record keeping such as shots on goal, points scored, times, blocks, steals, assists, etc. provide feedback for individuals and group. Records help to define standards and are fundamental to defining goals, that is reducing turnovers, improving times in a race, placing higher in a round-robin competition. Records also help to define sport traditions locally. 6th grade record for the long jump, 4th grade team record for the fewest point allowed per game in basketball, like that. Finally, festivity refers to the fact that sporting competitions are occasions for festivity, from the major festivals associated with the Olympic Games to the Sunday football game to the family festival of a children's soccer match. In sport education, teachers and students work together to create a continual festival that celebrates improvement, trying hard, and playing fairly. Posters, team colors, players' introduction, award ceremonies, videotaping, etc. are a part of this festival. Now we come to the next part where we had discussed the teaching methods, and now we are going to discuss the advantages and disadvantages of each teaching style. First was command and practice. The command and practice styles have very similar advantages and disadvantages. Some advantages of the styles are that they provide a very direct path to the objective. As a result, this gives the students a clear picture of how the expected performance is to be attained. Since the teacher chooses what will be taught and how the class will be arranged, there is not much time wasted in organizing the class, thus making these methods a remarkably efficient and effective way to teach skills. Due to the speedy organization associated with the command and practice styles, each is very beneficial when dealing with large crowds or limited time. The command and practice styles of teaching has many significant disadvantages as well. Most importantly, they are both insensitive to individual differences and needs. The styles demonstrate one way of performing the skill or task and only accepts one response in return. On account of this, the content is generally aimed towards the students with average ability. Thus, for those students who lack the skills needed to perform at this level, as well as those who have greater skills than the activity requires, the individual needs are not met with these styles. Another notable drawback of the teacher telling the students how to respond is it does not encourage original or innovative thinking on the part of the students. Next one is the reciprocal method. The reciprocal style has several noteworthy advantages and disadvantages. Its advantages include such things as the clarity of the task for everyone and the opportunity for feedback with each trial, which would practically be impossible if teacher were the only person providing feedback. The students have to observe one another and provide feedback on their partner's performance. Consequently, this contributes to their understanding and comprehension of the task at hand. These styles make the students assume responsibility for the learning of others. It should improve their communication skills, promote patience and tolerance, and develop analytical skills. The disadvantages of the reciprocal style can be found within the complexity of the task and the developmental level of the student. The reading level of the reciprocal sheet may be too advanced for particular students. Many may not be able to properly analyze another's performance, thus the feedback may be inaccurate. Due to the fact that a number of students may not be socially or emotionally developed, certain students may have difficulty working with others and accepting the feedback in a positive and helpful manner. Another fault of this style is that it can be severely time consuming during the beginning stages, as the students have to adjust and feel comfortable in their new role as an observer. The next one is the task method. The benefit of the task style is that it is very favorable in terms of recognizing particular needs and allowing for personal differences among students. It grants students the freedom to choose not only the task they will work on, but also the level at which they will start from. Since the students work on their own, the level of success they attain is not known by anyone else. The style is designed so that the students will begin working at a level in which they feel comfortable with, thus leading to a successful experience. This style gives the teacher a chance to roam about, offering assistance to anyone needing it. Whenever a situation occurs whereby a specific piece of equipment is in limited supply, the task style can be very appealing by reason that it does not require all the students to use the same piece of equipment at the same time. Permitting the students to decide for themselves what activity they will work on and letting them work on their own may be the greatest attribute of the task style. On the other hand, it may also be the greatest disadvantage of the style. Giving the students this much freedom can only work if they are willing to be responsible enough to carry out the task. The teacher must be aware of those who are not accomplishing the task and give them help in selecting the appropriate level to start from. The next method is guided discovery. The advantage of the guided discovery method is it truly entices the students to think for themselves. It also supports the development of a positive self-concept on the account that each student will successfully find an answer to the movement challenges. Furthermore, this method is useful in equipping students with the proper utensils or means to implement what has been learned to other movement situations. The greatest disadvantage to this style is the tremendous amount of time it demands. It can take a lot of time before the teacher finally guides the students to the proper movement sequence. Therefore, patience is a vital quality the teacher must possess. Next one is problem solving. Problem solving, like guided discovery, involves a great deal of cognitive activity and allows the students to display even more of their individualism through the movement responses. The method allows the students to work at a pace in which they can comprehend what is happening. It also helps students develop problem-solving skills as well as enhance creativity. The main disadvantage is once again the time consumption involved in developing the lesson and reaching the lesson objective. The teacher has to be very careful when planning the lesson and be able to anticipate possible solutions in order for it to be successful. Furthermore, the teacher must possess the ability to react on the spot in order to help particular students expand their movement possibilities. The next one is exploration. The exploration style is best used with young children involved in their first physical education experience. The style allows the students to discover their capabilities while working on their own, consequently enhancing the creativity within the movements. The method is designed to have everyone experience instant success, thus providing the students with increased confidence in their ability to move. The major drawback is the inappropriateness of method if a particular movement outcome is desired. Now, the concerns of practicing student-centered strategies. As mentioned before, the teacher-centered strategies are effective if you want an organized class, are limited in time and have a large crowd, or want the students to have a clear picture of the objective. However, the student-centered approach meets the individual needs and differences of all the students. It allows the students to be more involved in the decision-making and makes them think for themselves, usually resulting in more enjoyment and a better understanding of the movements. The benefits of using student-centered styles easily outweighs the time it demands, but there are certain concerns about using this type of strategy. Since these methods require the students to assume more responsibility for the learning with less direction and seemingly less structure offered by the teacher, it is crucial that the teacher establish a good working relationship with the class before attempting student-centered methods. In order for a teacher to be effective, they need to be a positive role model, an efficient planner, effective communicator, a thorough assessor of behavior and be consistent in their expectation of children. The students must have an idea of what is acceptable and appropriate behavior before developing more independent learning. The teacher has to be sensitive to the students' individual needs and continually find new ways to challenge them. It is necessary for the teacher to know when to ask further questions or realize when it is the time to move on to another activity. It should be done when the students have had enough time to explore possible solutions, but not so much time as to lose interest in the activity. Teachers have to be aware of those who have or have not previously received learning experiences using the student-centered approach. Students having only experienced learning through teacher-centered approach will normally have difficulty adjusting to the new approach. The teacher needs to gradually introduce the approach and use it for short periods until the class feel more comfortable in exploring movement and solving problems on their own. Now we will summarize the finding of this lecture. So we have learned a lot about advantages and disadvantages of different teaching methods and styles. Thank you so much for watching.